From the Fantasy Formula Podcast, we're going to take a moment and discuss Oversteer and Understeer. Understeer, and this is something that you hear the announcers talk about when it comes to a driver and how how the car responds to their control inputs. And some drivers, you'll hear they enjoy a little bit of understeer or they enjoy a little bit of oversteer. And here's what's going on with that. So understeer is also called push, and what happens is the front tires lose grip before the rear tires, causing the car to not turn enough and continue moving moving forward rather than turning in the desired direction. And the sensation the driver feels is that the car is it feels like it pushes wide through the turns. And this is caused because the front tires are either overheated or worn out. There's too much speed entering a corner. They might have poor front end aerodynamics or too little front downforce, and it's usually is an incorrect quote unquote suspension or differential setup. And how the driver counters it, they reduce speed or they adjust brake balance, which they can control on their steering wheel, or they tweak the car setup before and after the race. For oversteer, this is also called when the car feels loose. What happens is the car tries to lose grip. The rear tires lose grip before the front tires, causing the car to turn too much or even to spin out. The sensation is that the rear end feels like it's sliding. It makes the car feel loose or unstable. And this can happen when the rear tires are overheating or worn out, or there's excess throttle application mid-corner, or there's too much rear downforce reduction. So like if you had the DRS open in a turn, for example, it would be a oversteer situation. And then how the driver counters it is by either opposite lock, turning the steering wheel the opposite direction, or they smooth throttle control and adjusting the car setup. When it comes to the question of which is better, oversteer can be beneficial because a well-balanced amount allows for a sharper cornering, but too much can cause instability. And that is one of the things that Max Verstappen was credited to having, is a very, very loose car. He enjoys his oversteer. He puts a little bit of control in and the car operates, where Sergio Perez back in 23 and 24, his setup was much stiffer. He would prefer understeer. So his car wasn't as nimble and he had to think through his control inputs where Max Verstappen kind of thought and the car just kind of went, and too much oversteer again is bad. Understeer, which is better if you have understeer, is generally worse because it limits the driver's ability to react to the corners, like I just said with Sergio Perez. So where Sergio Perez would have to put a positive input in, Max Verstappen, again, allegedly, I'm repeating this, I'm not a Formula One driver, but from what I understand, that's the sort of dynamics. And drivers prefer usually a neutral balance, but like example, Max Verstappen always went towards it being a little bit more oversteer. Well, that is our oversteer understeer analysis. Be sure to check out all the rest of our content and get caught up on all things fantasy Formula One before teams lock. Cheers.